Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. It's Mark here at Digital Groove Online. This week we're back with another how-to video, and what we're going to look at is creating atmospheric textures and drones inside your project. So, to get us started, I've created a drum loop up at the top here. We'll play it a little bit later on. But how I like to incorporate a little bit of texture into my tracks is through reverb techniques, delay techniques, using a bit of sidechain, a bit of EQ, and also a couple of little ambient sounds as well along the way, just to show you how I do it. We're going to do it in this week's video, and we're going to play it together with the drums at the end. So just to speed things up, we've created the drums before the video, and I've also went into Splice and located a few samples just to create those textures from. And the first one that I'm going to do is this little synth stab here. It's very dry, very short, but trust me, it does sound good within the track when we apply the processes to it. So I'm going to take this sample into Ableton as an audio sample. And the first technique, we're going to use a long reverb. So we're going to go into all at the side here and type in reverb. We're going to go to the audio effects and use Ableton stock for this one. And we're going to pop it over the top of this synth here. Okay, just going to take a little bit of those lows out and probably going to pump that up till about 15 or 16 seconds of decay, and we will keep the dry wet roughly where it is. We'll keep that where it is. So let's have a solo on this here, and we'll have a listen to this one shot now. So a really nice one shot there, and you can hear the tail of that reverb creates a lovely ambience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, we're going to freeze and flatten that sound. Okay, and we'll get rid of this over to the side. Okay, I'm going to take the tail of this here, I'm going to copy it out. Actually, I'm going to take I'll take it back a little bit more, maybe to here, maybe there. So this is the transient of the sound, you know, the hit, if you like. And we're going to copy this out to the side, and we're going to hit R to reverse that. Okay, so I'll now drag this out. So this still has the transient in it, and this doesn't. So what we're going to do is create a sort of build up to halfway across the drum groove here for the atmosphere to have time to build up to its highest point. So something like that. And then we're going to grab this one and bring it over. Now, what does that sound like? So let's just listen to it on its own before we do any processing. So I'll go back to the start. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is add a compressor. There is a gentle squeeze preset inside here that I like to use. And if you just look at the graph here at the bottom, I'm going to push the ratio up. It will get louder, so let's see. And just as that falls down below it, I don't want there to be too much of a gap, so let's go down a bit lower here. Okay, I quite like that. And we can just pop another reverb on just after that. Not as long a decay, a couple of seconds, just so that any sort of dropouts like the start here, we still have a little bit of the effect tailing over. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is grab an LFO tool and drop that on so that we get that sort of sidechain pump. And just add an EQ. At the tail end, just to take some of those lower frequencies out. And you know, there we have it, just with a bit of delay, or sorry, a bit of reverb on that, we can create this little texture that rises and falls throughout the track there. So the next one I would like to look at is, again, I like to use Shimmer for this one. It's a washed out reverb. So let's have a look at that. We're going to use Serum for this. Just want to check the key that the little bass line D minor it's in. So I might want to hear the D minor bass line with the Serum as well. And we're going to use some sort of pluck sound. I quite like this tin liquor style pluck that's in here. Yeah, quite like that one. So let's fold the scale down. Yeah, quite like that. So I'm just going to loop that across. And we're going to add a Valhalla Shimmer. As you can see, that's already turning into like a pad type sound, which is quite cool. What I will add after that will be a EQ, just to tidy it up a little bit. Okay, so that's not bad. Maybe take some of the top off it. And we'll just pop a bit of an LFO tool on that as well, just for a bit of a duck up and down. Take the depth back a little bit to let some of the original sound through. And then we can use the cutoff here to as you can see, playing with the cutoff there, opening and closing it, gives a little bit of tension and a little bit of movement as well. We'll call that reverb synth. Okay, another technique that I like to use is, we'll just use a bit of audio for this one. Go back into Splice and find some sort of one-shot sample again. Maybe the start of that. Let's have a look at this. Okay. I'm just going to take the first little shot of that. And again, we're going to pop a stock reverb on there. In this technique, we're going to use the freeze button. So dry wet we'll sort of leave as it is. Pop the decay up. And we're going to set up an audio channel just underneath here. And we're going to change this external in to resampling mode. Arm the track and hit auto. The reason for doing this is when we hit the freeze button, I want to sort of let the sound decay, come down into a nice soft ambient sound, and then we're going to push the freeze button here. And then whenever we have that sitting nice, we're going to hit record, and we're going to record some of that sound back into Ableton. So let's try that out. Okay, so let's hit record, and we should be recording this in here. You can see over here that it is aware that there's audio coming into the channel. Once we have, you know, a couple of beats worth anyway, we can go back into here and turn off the reverb, which means if we go put this back to the way it was, take this off and just hit solo. Okay. If we hit Control J, it consolidates the audio file, and if we go into it, we can see how much we can turn it up by, and it's just 29 decibels. So it's going to be louder, so I'm going to go and turn it down over here. Okay, and we're just going to take a small snippet of that and bring that back to the start. We're going to make sure that the fades are turned off, and we'll duplicate that the whole way across. Okay, and we're just going to throw an LFO on first of all, just to avoid any sort of clicks and pops, and also to give it that groove with the sidechain. So let's have a listen to it now. Okay, and then it's up to you to shape that sound how you wish, so we'll put on an EQ. And we can just make that a little bit darker. And just to give it a little bit of movement, we can put an auto pan on there as well. And if you're listening on headphones or on a good set of monitor speakers, you'll hear that sort of spinning around the speakers a little bit. We can get rid of that lead synth as well over here. And something else that's always quite cool in these styles of tracks is any sort of ambient rain, wind, thunder, birds chirping. I quite like birds chirping in tracks. And let's see this one here. Quite like that one, there's a bit less going on. So let's drag that in. We're not going to warp that or anything. But putting something like a Shimmer, or if you have the Black Hole plugin, or if you're just using Ableton stock, then you would put, you know, quite a lengthy decay on that and mix it. As I said, I like to use the Shimmer plugin. And let's just leave it on 50% and have a listen to that as well. I'm going to swap that out because it's a little bit repetitive. Just waiting on this downloading. It's a 1 minute sample, so just take a couple of seconds longer hopefully. Just while we're waiting on that to download, I'm going to pan this slightly to the right, maybe 20%. And this one probably to the left the same. And you get that stereo sort of width. We'll drop a bit of EQ on that as well. Okay, let's add the ARP in as well. And we're going to group those up. Now, just to hear it in context with the drums and the bass that we've put in there, we'll play it together. Hopefully the levels are okay, but you'll catch the drift. can see how much that actually adds to texture wise to the track. You know, it's only a couple of elements in there, a few birds, a sidechained higher pad in there with a lot of the frequency scooped out. I've created a little arp almost with a pluck sound and layered it with a shimmer, and carved out, you know, a lot of the lows and some of the highs and give it a little bit boost in the high mid range. And then we've created this little reverb synth. You can see whenever we take this channel or this grouped channel out of it, that the atmosphere, it's non-existent. There's none there, and you can sort of see just how much that adds in. So let's play it one more time, and we'll do a bypass of before and after. Okay, just something basic enough, but enough for you to understand the importance of, you know, creating these textures and atmospheres within your tracks. It just brings the track to life. You know, a little bit of stereo in there as well, panning some things left and right. Obviously, you can add a bit of automation over time, tell that story, build that tension and release. And before we add any sort of leads or plucks in there, any focal shots, whatever it might be, that little atmospheric bed has added a nice bit of texture to a basic drum pattern and bass line, really. So, you know, it's very experimental. Enjoy it. Use all different types of sounds. Don't limit yourself to a specific genre of samples or whatever. Try it with all different sounds. You'll be surprised what you come up with. A lot of happy accidents in there that can create great textures within your tracks. So there you go. Three different ways of using reverb in their delay, shimmer and things like that. In the next video, I'll build on top of that again from next week, and what we might be looking at is sort of dub delays, little hits within the track that you can create lovely returns that give your delays that sort of loopy atmospheric texture as well, which you can add on top of this, but we'll break that down into a separate video. So kept it short enough this week. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.